Yeah.
Just by your line?
No, we always in Baltimore, like we'd either go out into the field house or they set something out like right outside of like the locker room doors, like outside actually. So depending on the weather.
So when you watch this Detroit Lions defense on film, obviously they sacked Lamar 7 times. Can you just talk about what you're seeing out of these guys?
I think overall, like what you get from these guys is kind of what you get from them as a whole, like as a whole unit. I think they've been so good the last few years just because they play physical football. Like they understand that that's what wins football games, and I think for us as an offense, we have to understand like that we're going to be in, we're going to be in for that kind of game. So
you talked after the game, the Green Bay game, about how hard that game was, and then took it offensively. It was hard. Do you see any light at the end of the tunnel? When will it become less hard?
I don't think you can ever bank on that. Listen, I mean, it is supposed to be hard to a certain extent when you're in this league, and I think it's just up to you to kind of have the mindset that you're ready to deal with that. And I think if you do have that mindset that it's going to be hard every week, then you give yourself the best chance to go out there and meet it head on and kind of have the most success you can.
Joe, do you think teams are trying to take away the 15, 18, 20-yard pass from you?
I think most of the time defenses do what they do well. Obviously you go into each week with a game plan, and obviously you have to attack different teams in different ways. But ultimately, the good teams, they get really good at doing a couple things, and they do those things.
Joe, stylistically, does this Lions defense kind of feel similar to the Eagles defense in terms of cover one and a lot of man? And if so, how does that maybe inform the preparation this week?
Well, yeah, I think at the base, they play man, and they're not afraid to, match up any of their guys with any of our guys. I think it just goes back to what I said earlier about them playing physical and like them having an identity and not backing down from it. I think anytime you go against teams like that, then they're good, and it's up to you to kind of go in there with that mindset and just attack it and be aggressive yourself.
Joe, after the game, you said there were probably some downfield opportunities. When you went back and watched the film, did you see that? And is that an area where this offense can grow?
For sure. It's like, it's little things here, little things there that kind of take you off of it, or, the situation of the game maybe, whatever it may be. I think every time you go back and watch film, there's some things that maybe you thought you could hit and that was true or wasn't. And this was no other. This is no, I think I was in the moment a little bit disappointed about a couple opportunities that I thought I might have had. And I think there was opportunities there, but I also can see, maybe why I didn't do what I did, maybe why I did do what I did. I think you're going to have those all the time, and I think the biggest thing with this one is at least we were able to win the football game and learn from those things, and that's just a learning experience. You watch it on the film, and maybe the next time you get in those situations, you treat it a little bit differently.
Has the gunslinger in you taken a back seat to a more conservative approach?
I think as a quarterback, your job is to go out there and do whatever you have to do to win the football games. And I think right now, especially with the way our defense is playing, if that's what I have to do week in and week out, I'm not going to be shy about doing that. I think there's always a point in your career where you're worried about, probably wrongfully so, you're worried about putting up yards and things like that. All I care about is winning. Winning football games, that's it.
The run offense seemed to get going a little better last week. So how can you build on that going forward?
Yeah, I think anytime you get to see some good chunks in the run game and guys get their confidence up and the O-line gets, starts to feel themselves a little bit and become really aggressive and you put that on tape and now teams have to defend it. And listen, all the best run teams I've been around, you're almost welcoming teams to come stack the box against you, because sometimes when you split through that little initial thing, you're one-on-one with a safety. So I think the challenge for us is to, as we do get better and hopefully teams start to do that against us, is to have that mindset that we want that to happen, because that's when the chunks can come.
Talk about the fact that you guys have an uncertain type of situation heading into this game, I'm not sure if Jack's going to be able to play, although I think he's practicing today, but DeWand being out for the year. Can you just talk about the situation?
Yeah, it's very rare where you go into a game where you're just looking at your team and you're in the ideal world with everybody that you have on the roster. Maybe week one, but even a lot of times week one, it's not like that. So I think if you talked to all other 31 teams, they'd be dealing with something similar. So it's just part of it, and you got to just adapt on the fly, and that's why we have these guys to be able to step up and do what they do.
Joe, going back to the conservative gunslinger kind of backs, is that always something that throughout your career you're trying to find that right balance, and it can change week to week?
I think most of my career, it's funny because I've probably gotten to throw the ball around the yard a little bit the last few years when I've been in games, but I think most of my career I've honestly played in that conservative style offense where you have to take care of the football, and it might not look pretty all the time, but there's going to be a handful of plays that you have to make in every game that could be a deciding factor. So it's funny to see how things go, but teams are different and teams are good at doing different things, and we're still trying to find a little bit about what we are the best at, and during that process is just finding that balance and doing what you can do as a quarterback.
How tough is having that not press even in a game like in week last game?
I think the biggest thing for me, like right now, like I talked about a little bit ago, is it's honestly easier than it probably ever has in my career, because while it's always about winning, like when you are 18 years in, it's even more clear now than ever that it is truly about winning football games and nothing else. So I honestly do think it's, obviously you have to give yourself those reminders all the time. But I think when that's what is in the forefront of your mind, then it's easy to kind of just do what you have to do.
Joe, how important is it for you to start to really get going with Jerry, or can you just not force something like that? Do you have to let it come, and do you feel like it will come one of these days soon?
You do have to let it come. At the same time, it's important. If he's going, then we're going to be going good. And at the same time, like you could come up with things throughout the week, and obviously you're doing that every week. You're game planning to get certain guys the ball in certain situations and all that. But if you start to force things, especially with the way we're playing good teams right now. If you start to force things against good football teams, then usually bad things happen, and those kind of football teams take advantage of that. So I think it can be frustrating for him, for me, especially when we're just not putting up as many points as we want to anyway. But, man, you got to fight that urge big time.
How much has safety help from other teams maybe influenced the kind of decisions you're making, or maybe the availability of downfield stuff?
Well, I mean, listen, it's probably hard to talk about this generically over the last 3 weeks. I'd have to go back and look at every single thing. But, obviously we haven't been able to get the ball downfield so far, and, we'll have to see what we can do about that.
You mentioned being happy with the way guys were handling the struggles on Sunday and no temper tantrums or whatever. So did you have to talk to guys, or did you just feel everybody was able to keep their spirits up?
Yeah, no, I didn't. And I'm not even saying that spirits were up. I don't think spirits were very high, but at the same time, it's just obvious the way that we continued to play throughout that game that everybody was able to keep a level head to some extent. Yeah, it's never going to be perfect, and you're definitely going to be emotional in those situations. But everybody was able to keep it together just enough to go out there and do the right thing.
The Lions' offense is awesome, 90 points the last two games. How much does that influence the offensive game plan for the Browns?
Well, it's not up to me. I mean, you got to talk to Kevin and Tommy. Maybe they'll be able to answer that later today or tomorrow. But honestly, like, when you get into that world about worrying about the other side of the ball, then you just do your whole team a disservice. That's for Jim and Miles and Denzel and all those guys to worry about, and they've been doing a really good job this year. So
do you talk to Jerry throughout the week, and you guys say, hey, it's going to come, let's keep doing the right things and hang in there? Do you have to have that kind of a conversation, or is that just something that it's going to play itself out on the field?
We haven't, and maybe at some point you have to, but I would hope not. I really, it's funny because I get these questions up here, but I don't really think about those things. Listen, I want to go out there. I do want to go out there and throw for 300 every day and do all those things. I want him to have 150 every week. But that's just not how this league works all the time. You got to stay patient, and when your number's called, I think if you are in that patient mindset, then you're going to be the most ready to strike when the opportunity is ready for you, and I think that's all we can do.
Joe, going into the season, after getting through the preseason and training camp there, did you have an idea in your mind of like what the personality of this offense was going to be, and just how much further do you guys need to go to get to maybe what you thought it was going to be?
Listen, I think we want to ultimately be physical and we want to play fast. We want to put pressure on teams, and we want to do that with physicality. And I think we're building towards that. But when you do those two things, everything else kind of tends to fall in place. This game still comes down to teams being able to feel that physical presence and to you putting pressure on them with your speed and just your speed of operation and speed of your motions, getting out of the huddle, all those things. I think that's what we're striving to be, and we're working towards it.
Remember when you were here
Just a couple more.
in 23, you guys were pretty thin at tackle for some of those games. What worked for you guys then in that situation? Maybe could that apply to what you guys have now?
Yeah, I think you can always look at those things. But every year's different, and personnel's different, and there's different challenges that are presented in terms of game planning and teams you're going against and all that. So there's just a lot of factors. It's hard to simplify it into one thing right now.
What can you say about Joel Bitonio just getting out there and playing with where he could barely get in and out of his car, as he said the other day? What does that mean to you to have somebody that wants to go do that?
That's the kind of guys you want on the football team. If you have 22 of them, man, you're going to be tough to beat. Believe me, he gets all the respect in the world from the guys in this locker room and from everybody in this building. He's a warrior, and that's what this game's all about. And he kind of I think he takes that stuff to heart, and he wants to be there for his guys, and you got to respect the hell out of that.
Rookies have been so integral in these first three games, both on offense and defense. Have you ever seen an influx of rookies having such a quick impact on the team?
Off the top of my head, it's tough to think about, but these guys are good players, and I think the biggest thing is just kind of get the ball in their hands and allow them to do what they do best. Specifically Harold throughout the course of the three games. Just getting the ball in his hands and the physical catches and then the runs have just been amazing to watch. So hopefully we can have more of that and then get everybody else going and come together, and we'll be all good. All right, guys.
Thank you.
said after the game, we were just talking about it before, how he was glad that everybody kept a good attitude. He goes, nobody's happy during the struggle Sunday, but everybody, he thought, kept a good attitude on offense despite not scoring until the last 4 minutes. Yeah. So how do you do that when things are going as poorly as they were?
Just keep having faith, Negativity ain't going to bring nothing, ain't going to make it better. So, they're staying positive and, you see the outcome once you stay positive.
Do you find that hard when the team's not scoring, you're not getting a ton of opportunities?
Yeah, it's very difficult, but, you got to stay the course, because that's the only right way to do it.
When you look at that Detroit defense, what stands out to you?
They do a good job. They got a great line, a great secondary that do a good job being complimentary. I can't even say the word. Yeah, but they good. That's great.
Jerry, when you look at that defense, do you see a lot of opportunities one-on-one? And if so, how do you take advantage of that?
Yeah. I see a lot of opportunity one-on-ones. I think they got a good amount of trust of their corners, so they give them a lot of man calls. So, just got to take advantage of that, winning routes, getting your depth, getting open, being where you need to be on time.
Jerry, can you do anything to, and I know I've asked you this before, but it seems like you and Joe are going to get rolling together soon, but it really kind of hasn't happened yet. Is that something that just has to take place on the fly in a game, or what can you guys do? What are your thoughts on that connection?
We've been doing everything we can, the biggest thing is just staying consistent, and eventually, those games going to happen, and, we're going to get to where we need to go at. But, the biggest thing is just staying consistent, and just see what happens from there.
You've been in some frustrating situations before in Denver where you might not be getting the ball as much as you wanted to.
Yeah.
How do you kind of deal with that, when you're not playing up to your potential or getting the ball as much as you want to and stay consistent?
Good thing is, I dealt with that, so, the biggest thing is just having the right mindset and just knowing, this the game of football. 1 week you might not get no catches. Next week you might have 10, 14, 20 catches. And the week after that you might not get no catches again. So the biggest thing is just staying, of course, staying level-headed and just know eventually your time gonna come. And just being patient. Don't let it really mess up your feelings towards the game. The way you come out there and compete and practice. You just got to know it's a part of football. So.
It was kind of slow going last year, your first year here, and then all of a sudden, you're still getting a lot of it.
Yeah, like you said, beginning of last year, I wasn't really getting that much opportunities, towards the end of the season, that's when I popped. So, just staying focused and staying driven.
Does that memory help you stay patient?
No, not really, but, I just, like I said, I've been through this situation before, you guys just got to stay, of course, and just keep playing your game.
Jerry, when you're in the game like Sunday, and I think you didn't get your first target until late in the second quarter, how do you stay in a rhythm and stuff kind of along the lines of what you're talking about?
Pretty much like I just said just earlier, you just gotta stay in the game. Like I said before, good thing I've been in these situations, so I know how to handle it. At the same time, like I said, you don't know when you're gonna get the ball. Coach could set up play for you to get the ball. It might not be the right coverages. It might not be the perfect play for that look. But at the same time, you gotta understand it's a lot that go into it. So for you to be successful, all 11 players gotta do their job. So you gotta just keep a course and just keep working.
Jerry, when you guys are in the film room and you're combing through game tape, do you, not just about the opportunities, but do you feel like it's close? When you're watching film, do you feel like you guys are really on the cusp of getting to where you'd like to be?
Yeah, of course. You see things when you watch the film. Just if it's just one more second or one adjustment, and it would have been a bigger play than what it is. So like I said before, it's a part of the game. We just got to go throughout the week, learn and adjust, and figure out for the next week.
What do you think that first win can do for this team?
It could do a lot. It's a great momentum shift. Just having a win on our belt, getting that feeling. And just chase that feeling again, that winning feeling again. And it's just gonna motivate guys to play better and just want to keep having that feeling after Sunday's game.
You're an emotional player. You're a passionate player. Is that something I doubt you're ever going to want to apologize for? Showing that kind of emotion and passion on the field or on the sidelines. I mean, that's just part of who you are, right?
Yeah, of course. I pride myself playing with a lot of emotion, but not playing emotional. So I just do what I'm supposed to do. Of course, when you playing a competitive game like this, you're gonna have a lot of emotions and energy. So that's just a part of the game.
Detroit scores a ton of points, 90 the last 2 games.
Yeah.
How does that affect the prep week for this offense? And you feel you're going to have to do more than 13?
Yeah, I mean, of course, they got a great offense over there that been putting up points, and as a unit and as a group, I feel like we're going to have to put up points, defense been doing a great job these past few weeks holding these offense to a little bit of amount of points, but we just got to do a better job in offense is just scoring points and doing what we're supposed to do.
The Lions are so physical. Are you expecting a very, very physical battle, and do you think that that's going to be their point of emphasis, is to just try to really overpower you guys if they can?
Yeah, I guess that's Dan Campbell and their identity to playing physical. We just got to match that energy and just come out there more prepared and more physical than them.
Isaiah got I think his most playing time last week. How have you seen him come along, and do you feel like he's ready to maybe take a next step and have a bigger impact?
Yeah, Isaiah, he just been growing each week. He been constantly getting better, constantly learning the offense, constantly doing what the coaches ask of him. He been doing a great job. And I just expect high expectations each week for him, and he's gonna keep doing that.
Tim got hit 10 times after the throw, just kept getting back up and going at it. What can you say about the toughness that he has shown?
Joe a tough guy. That's what he do. He plays his game. Quarterback gonna get hit, and Joe real tough. He gonna get right back up and focus on the next play. That's just the type of guy he is.
What about Antonio? He's got a game ball because he was battling through the back. What do you make of what he fought through last week to play?
Yeah, man, he's just a dog. A guy that could have sat out last week, but he decided he want to be out there with his brothers and go out there and compete and win this game. Much respect to him.
Sure.
All right, thank you.
Sorry?
Did you meet Clay Matthews?
I did not, no.
In watching film of the Lions, they do a lot of trick plays, a lot of trickery with motions and different things like that. So how on point do you have to be and how much film are you going to study for this one?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to, like you said, being on point and keeping your eyes where they're supposed to be. And when you're able to do that, a lot of times those trick plays get stopped.
Carson getting that first sack last week, like, can you just talk about what you were seeing? Because, I mean, it just seemed like you didn't give up on the play there. Really
I think, it's always fun to make a play, but we had basically everyone working together. He got flushed out of the pocket real fast. We had the pressure up the middle, and there was nowhere to go with the ball, and so ended up, when the plays come, you got to make them.
Were you motivated after that first one got taken away from you? 12-man.
I think always when I'm on the field, I'm motivated to go make a play.
Detroit goes for it so much in fourth down. I mean, you can make a great third down stop, and then you got to be ready for the next play. Is that kind of a theme in practice this week?
Yeah, just keeping the momentum, whether it's second, third, fourth down, always being ready, and playing third downs exactly like fourth downs, doing our best job to get off the field.
Their offensive line, just the way they get after it, they seem to be a bunch of maulers up front, for lack of a better description. Just what type of challenge when you're watching them on film? What do you see from those five guys?
Yeah, they're physical, they're maulers, but for us going in the game, our mentality is the same. We got to be physical right back and dominate the line of scrimmage.
How about Jared Goff? What are you seeing of him on film, and how well is he playing?
Yeah, you can see he's played a lot of football, and he knows what he's seeing and where he wants to go with the ball. And I think for us, just similar to every week, knowing what we're supposed to do, and trying to get as much pressure as we can as well.
As the green dot guy this week, is it more imperative than ever to have the communication because of all the trickery and
yeah, communication is going to be huge. I think it's the same for every week, though.
Getting that takeaway from Grant, like, how big do you feel like that was, and in the moment, how much of a lift was that for you guys?
It's a huge lift anytime you can get takeaways. I mean, there's correlations with takeaways and being able to win the ball game, and so for us that was huge. And I think for the season we've been trying to get a takeaway, and having it come, you could see the effect that has on the game and the momentum it gives us.
Carson, their running backs really good, do two different things, two different skill sets. Do you have to be aware of which one is in the backfield and does their offense operate a little differently depending on who's in there?
Yeah, there's little differences, but both backs can do everything the offense is asking. So, really we're prepared for everything, whichever back's in the game.
How much of a learning experience has it been for you as a rookie, like considering you got these guys this week, but you just had to face Derrick Henry and Jacobs, who was really good. So how much the last 2 weeks?
I think I've learned a lot. I think, we've been playing a lot of high-powered offenses, and we've gone in there and been able to, for the most part, play physical and fast how we want to play. And, I think that's something we look to continue doing. And for me, I feel like, every week I'm learning and getting better with it.
Would you rather have a sack or a turnover?
Turnover, I think. For me, we just want to get the ball in the offense's hands. I think that's big on momentum.
How about get them both?
Yeah, exactly. That's what turns some sacks into strip sacks, yep.
You're never leaving the field. Would you have it any other way?
No. I mean, if you were to ask me, I would go play offense, go play all the special teams too, if it was up to me. Probably wouldn't be best for us, but if it were up to me, that's what I'd do. Oh, there we go.
Good guy?
All right, thank you guys.
He's like some tight end in there, receiver. Yeah. Do some.
All right, we're closed.